Weeds may look small at first, almost harmless, but if you ignore them for even a few weeks, they spread aggressively, taking over your garden, your walkway, and even cracks in concrete. And before you realize it, they become a constant problem. Most people try pulling weeds by hand, thinking it's the easiest solution, but what they don't realize is the root remains underground, and within days, the weed grows back again. And after repeating this process again and again, people start looking for stronger solutions, usually turning to chemical weed killers, hoping for a permanent fix. But these chemical products often come with hidden problems. They may damage your soil, harm nearby plants, and sometimes even affect pets or children if used frequently over time. And the worst part is, you don't just use them once, you keep buying them again and again, spending more money without solving the root problem. But what if the solution was not expensive, not toxic, and already available inside your kitchen? A simple $2 kitchen liquid that doesn't require tools, doesn't require scrubbing, and works directly on the root of weeds. And unlike traditional methods, this approach focuses on how weeds actually grow, instead of just removing what you see on the surface, which is why it works differently. Because the real problem is never the visible part of the weed, it's the root system hidden below the surface that keeps bringing it back. If the root survives, the weed will return, no matter how many times you cut or pull it, and that's where most methods fail. But when this liquid is applied, it begins to break down the plant slowly, starting from the leaves and moving deeper into the system. Over time, the plant loses strength, the leaves dry out, and the root system becomes weaker. And this is important because weakening the root is the only way to stop future growth completely. Unlike scrubbing or cutting, this method doesn't spread seeds or disturb the surrounding soil, which makes it more controlled. And because you're not using harsh chemicals, you're also reducing the risk of long-term damage to your garden environment. But here's something interesting. If this method is so simple, why don't more people talk about it or use it regularly? Some believe simple and cheap solutions don't get promoted as much because they don't generate profit. Instead, people are guided toward expensive products that promise quick results, but require repeated use. And beginners often don't question these methods because they assume more expensive means more effective. So how exactly do you use this method correctly? And what mistakes should you avoid to get the best possible results without damaging your garden? To use this method properly, you don't need any expensive tools. You don't need professional equipment. You just need a simple liquid and a little patience to let it work. Start by identifying the areas where weeds are growing the most, especially in cracks, edges, and corners, because these are the places where weeds grow strongest. These weeds are difficult to remove because their roots go deep underground, and even a small remaining root can bring the plant back within days. Now slowly apply the liquid directly onto the leaves and stem, making sure the entire surface is covered so the reaction can begin properly. As the liquid settles on the plant, it starts reacting with the surface, breaking down the structure of the leaves and weakening the plant step by step. Within a few hours, you may notice the leaves starting to curl, lose their color, and slowly begin to dry out. And over the next day or two, the plant becomes weaker as the liquid continues working downward toward the roots beneath the soil. This is the most important stage because once the root starts losing strength, the weed cannot recover, and future growth is stopped completely. But timing plays a big role here. Applying this method during dry weather allows the liquid to stay longer and work more effectively on the plant. If you apply it before rain, the liquid may get washed away, reducing its strength and making the process less effective. Another important thing to remember, always apply it carefully, only on unwanted weeds, and avoid contact with healthy plants nearby. Because this solution does not distinguish between weeds and useful plants, It affects whatever it touches, so precision is very important. One small mistake during application can damage surrounding plants, especially in tight garden spaces, where everything is close together. But when used correctly, this method becomes one of the simplest and most cost-effective ways to deal with weeds permanently. And unlike expensive weed killers, you don't need to keep buying new products every few weeks to maintain your garden. This means you save money, you save time, and you reduce effort, all with a simple method. And once the weeds are gone, keeping your space clean becomes much easier without constant maintenance. That's why simple solutions like this are often ignored, even though they can be very effective when used the right way. And once you understand how weeds grow and survive, you can control them better without depending on expensive products. So before you spend money again on chemical weed killers, remember this simple idea. Sometimes the cheapest solution is already in your kitchen.